to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Any citizen concerns that's not on the agenda? Okay. Need approval of the agenda for today, June 2nd, 2015.
Move approval of the agenda dated June 2nd, 2015.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Approval of the minutes of May 26, 2015.
Move approval of the minutes dated May 26, 2015.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Discussion of approval of claims.
Move approval of the claims, and in doing so ask for a record roll call vote.
Need a second?
I didn't hear what he said.
Move approval of the claims, and in doing so ask for a record vote.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I could have the clerk call the roll on this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, appreciate it.
Clausen,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Ung,
Aye.
Monson.
Aye. Okay. Human Resources, approval of memorandum of personnel transactions. Send it around for signature. Need a motion?
Move.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Retiree requesting remain on county health insurance plans for a retiree and his spouse. Discussion and action.
Move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Authorize chair to sign the authorization to initiate hiring. Need a motion?
Move to authorize the chair to sign.
Need a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. County Auditor, received Liberty Township trustee appointment.
Move to receive the appointment of Ryan, is it White?
Waits.
White.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Receive the City of Anthon council member appointment.
Move on Jerry Boggs.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Wow. Citizen concerns? What am I missing? Oh. Back of the page. Board Administration, approval of resolution for tax suspension for BB.
I would move to suspend the taxes of the individual in question for 1 year, and I'll follow up with some reasons.
Need a second? I'll second. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may, speaking with our Assistant County Attorney this afternoon, I think that there are still some questions to be answered. I know we deferred on this last week until this week, but there are some questions that I have. For example, we don't know whether this individual is on Social Security disability. If the individual was on Social Security disability, that would obligate us going forward. We also have that past precedence has not had us abate taxes retroactively when the property in question is not in the petitioner's name. So my understanding in visiting about this would allow us a window of time. The applicant was late in the process anyway. This would give us 1 year's tax suspension, and then the individual in question would be able to petition the board. The abatement question would still come before the board in the future, but this gives some room and time in order order for this to be given a little more process.
Anyone else?
Are we legally, can we legally do this?
Yeah, I believe that you can suspend them for a year. I think the code section, you're not allowed to allow the suspension to keep building from the transfer of property from one person to the next. So one thing that complicates this is that there hasn't been a probate of the estate, and we have the individual living in the house, but we don't know if there's other heirs. So I think that we should encourage the occupant of the house to go through that process of getting title, and then part of that would be bringing the taxes up to date, and they'd either have to come up with the money or they could request that the board abate those taxes. I don't think the past practice has been to abate those taxes, but I mean, we could cross that bridge if there was a request, but the occupant has some work to do on their end, and if we suspend them for a year, which I think we can do, it would give them time to work out those processes.
And I think that'd be good to not establish a precedence that we don't want to have to be held to in future years. And that was one of the things that I failed to mention, is getting the property in her name is important in and of itself. We don't have assurance that that's been done at this time.
Well, that's one of the reasons I was questioning the legality of it.
Well, the code section indicates that they can be abated either upon the request of the property owner or the occupant of the property. And then a different code section references, and this is dealing with bringing the taxes up to date, that it can be either on a transfer request or an inheritance. And inheritance is a situation where you haven't had a formal probate, and it's by operation of law that it passes to the next individuals, but we're not even sure if the occupant of the house is the person that would have 100% share of the property. I think I've been told that there's potentially other heirs involved too, but they would need to sort through all that. I also spoke with the treasurer's office late this afternoon, and they did indicate that some of the occupant of the house and perhaps someone else on their behalf had contacted the treasurer's office today inquiring about the amount due and the deadline for paying that, and indicated that they were trying to come up with it, but when they were told that the deadline would be June 11th to prevent it from going to tax sale, it sounded like they were doubtful as to whether they could come up with the money in that amount of time.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Approval of resolution thanking and commending Mr. Thomas Hankey for 44 years of service to Woodbury County.
Move to be received for signature.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Okay, we're going to jump down to E. No. It's time. Public hearing and sale of property parcel 320430, also known as 2323 West 14th Street. This is a hearing. Anyone who likes to speak for or against the sale of this property has the opportunity at this point. Hearing none.
Move the hearing be closed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Now we open up the sale of this property. Is there anyone here to bid on this property? Please come forward, state your name.
Larry Caskey,
And your bid is?
$100.
Okay. Anyone else wish to bid on this property? Hearing no one else, I would take a motion.
Move the property be sold to Mr. Caskey.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. This nice lady over here will take your money. Okay, public hearing and sale of property parcel 182115, also known as 3112 First Street. Wait a minute. This is just a hearing. Anyone to speak for or against the sale of the property? Hearing none, I would take a motion.
Move to close the hearing.
Need a second? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Now, who would like to bid on this property? I do. You have to come forward. And your bid is?
It says 408, so I'll go 408.
408. Anyone else wish to bid on the property? Hearing none, I would take a motion.
And your name?
Kelly Case. Kelly Case.
And you're bidding for yourself.
Yes.
Move the property be sold to Ms. Kane.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nice young lady over there. Okay, discussion and action on using additional sales tax revenue to reduce the tax rate for Rural Basic Fund for 2016. Mr. Butler.
Board members, through the addition of CF revenues coming in on sales tax and other developments within Woodbury County, we had the pleasant surprise of being told that we're going to get $416,816 more, and that is a soft number. We'll know the real number further down November. If it's actually more than that, we'll save that extra to go into next year's tax asking to help reduce fiscal year 17. What that means is 20% goes to our local option sales tax for $83,363, and for our local option sales tax reduction, $333,453 can be used this coming fiscal year. We're at a point where we have to kind of make a decision, and I also got better news. Today we did get a sales tax payment, and when we looked at the sales tax for secondary roads for this fiscal year, we estimate $1.9 million. We actually got $79,190 more. I already talked to the engineer. He has no problem putting that in with this $333 to help reduce tax asking tax rate next year. So instead of 31.8 cents, if you use this money, it'll go 39.3 cents tax rate reduction for the rural township people. That excludes all cities. It's just for the township. In other words, this money could go toward the tax asking reduction for the $1.3 million for the special bridge project. And if the board does accept this and pass it today, the Department of Revenue, I talked to them, they'll reject our budget tomorrow morning when I send them an email. That gives us the opportunity to adjust our tax rates, recertify it, and I'll have the chair, Mark, and Pat sign it, and we resubmit it, and they'll reduce our tax rates for the coming fiscal year.
Cutting it awful close.
Yes. Yeah, it took quite a while to get an estimate from the Department of Revenue. Joel Gabrielson's our representative down there that figures it out, but the higher-ups took their time doing this, and our payment in June did not reflect this, but the payment in July and the rest of the fiscal year will reflect this, so we will get this money. We'll probably get more. If we get more, we'll use it for the following fiscal year.
This is very welcome news.
It is good news.
And it's mostly due to increased sales activity around the
Yes.
expansion sites.
Yep. Expansion site and Sabre dramatically help too. So wherever the locations are, it goes in a big pot, then it's diversified out. We get about 17%.
Dennis, I agree that it's good news. I'm just wondering, are you then asking for a motion that would recommend approval of the request, reducing the rural basic tax rate not by 31.8 cents, but by 39.3 cents?
Yes. I just found that out this afternoon. So I did check with our county engineer. He had no objection, or really it's up to you, gentleman and lady, too, to do it. But he had no problem with it because we're above our minimum levy anyway.
So on a $100,000 house, how much would that be?
$38.
$38.
Wait, be $3. Let's see, 100,000. $1 be 38. Be about $3.80. But when you get into the bigger, because an example would be Mid-America Energy has a $150 million assessment, means $0 to them. But farmers that have big farms, or any farmer, is going to get help. And it's going to, go ahead.
I have a question, I guess. When you said it could be used to reduce the special bridge levy, is that an accounting, or is that an accounting thing that you do, or does that matter in the motion? Because I would like to see it directed towards that. One of the things when we went out and did our outreach meetings with the rural citizens, when we were advocating for the tax increase for the bridges, we said that if there were any changes in our budget, that we would come back to them and look at that tax. Well, this is a change. I'd like to make good on my word that I would reduce that tax, that bridge tax. So in the motion, I'd like to make a motion. And do I have to include that?
And how I will do that if it passes, when we get all the money in the secondary roads, I move the money from secondary roads over to the bridge fund. So in this case, it'd be $1.3 million less the $333 and the $79,000. So it'll show local option going in the special bridge fund, and then the rest will be tax dollars. So it will show up. So if any individual from the road comes up or any citizen comes up, we'll be able to track it right to the penny.
Will that reduce the bridge levy, but then we would need to come back in future years and out years?
It'll be there every year now unless the estimates go up. Now, if they go up, we'll just keep reducing the bridge levy.
And the
So
bridge
say it goes
levy-
up 100,000, we'll add that 100,000 on next year, reduce the tax asking for the secondary roads, but we'll defer to bridge project.
There's only 2 or 3 years left on the bridge levy anyway.
Right, we're going in our third
2.
year. This will be our third year coming up, then there's 2 left. That'll be 5 years. Then it sunsets, and then it's the decision of the board through input from the rural people whether you want to do it again. But by then, you've probably done about 15 additional bridges plus the 15 had, which whacks into it a little bit.
Well, I would move to reduce the rural levy by 39.3 cents, and for you to direct it towards the bridge levy
Yes,
project.
yes.
Second.
What is the motion?
I don't know if I can
The
say it
motion,
again.
I think-
Basically, it's
go
to
ahead.
reduce the bridge levy, to direct the tax reduction to the bridge levy project.
Right, by 39.3 cents.
Is that the same people?
Yes.
Both piles?
Yes.
Okay.
It's totally townships, no towns are included in this levy.
So
Strictly
it
a
doesn't make any
township.
difference which one we put it in?
Correct.
Okay.
Does this have any bearing with the county engineer? Is there any heartburn on his part over doing this? I just want to make sure from a funding stability standpoint that it holds everything harmless in that sense in your world.
Well, it does hold things harmless in my world. We'll still have that $1.3 million in additional revenue with the local option sales tax offsetting a portion of that property tax levy. Whether we'll be able to sustain that into future years is going to be dependent on that local option sales tax. But we only have 2 years left with that special bridge levy. So when the DOT looks at our local effort, they take the total amount that you're levying. They're not looking at it in 2 pots like we are. And we created that second pot so that we could show exactly where that bridge money, where that extra levy was going. From the DOT's perspective, we're still meeting our local effort. They're just looking at the total, our base level levy, plus whatever will be remaining out of the local option, or out of the special bridge levy. They look at it as a total. In my world, it all works and comes together, like Dennis is saying.
I see this just as an opportunity to be very transparent and to make good on our word, because we did make a promise that we would go back and look at that tax. I realize in the end it's the same thing, but if someone would want to come in and track that on your ledger sheet, I want our rural folks to know that is directly where we put that money.
Yeah, and I think this is in keeping with your promise. It is a question that my department has been asked with the dime as well. But again, what the dime is helping us do is do more. I mean,
Right.
I would hate to see us apply that dime against the 1.3 million, or we're just
I
staying
agree with
course.
you there, but this really is a windfall, so I
Yeah, the local option sales tax is an entirely different revenue stream. And again, it was designed to offset your local property taxes. So I think that's very much in keeping with the spirit of our efforts to go out and gain that extra money.
And just a brief history for Jeremy's part, and I think maybe Matthew, the reason we did set up a separate fund is very clear when we did this in our meetings out in the rural. They did not want any of this money used for payroll or equipment or anything, bridges solely. So that's why we split it up.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
I will have a form tomorrow for Mark and Pat to sign. Okay.
Okay, item number F, Dennis.
Okay, item number F, I'm back here before the board on two specific claims. One claim is for the first contract, number 1. The other contract, number 2, is a second claim. The first claim is for $13,505, of which $800 is for fulfill our $54,700. The $12,705 is the after meetings. And then on number 2, that is all the after, that's our contract for on-call that was signed March 3rd.
I'm going to move this for discussion.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Okay, let's start with contract number 1. Somehow, we went over by about 65% in our billing without knowing it as a board, correct? I called Josh just to get clarification on who should have been watching that. You know, was it upon the board to watch that? Was someone on the board directing those meetings? And I went back and looked at them. Some of those I recognized, some I did not. Didn't know they were happening. But my question to Josh was it upon us to know that we were going over our amount that we had contracted for? There's a built-in, $7,700 or whatever it was, and we went up to $15,000. So I'm going to ask you, I guess, publicly.
$12,705 on this one.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
12,705.
Right. The way it was set up on that initial contract was that the additional meetings would be on a time and materials basis. So basically, dependent upon the number of meetings and who was involved and the time spent. And then the estimate was that, I believe the 7,700 there. But there was also a notation in the contract that additional meetings could be done upon the request of the owner, and the county is referred to owner in the document. So it's not necessarily outside of the contract, but it is an issue of who was requesting those meetings, and then whether they needed to come back to the full board for approval, or if individuals had the authority to request those meetings and participate in those meetings.
Well, part of it too, and I don't want to hog all the time, but for instance, on 10/14, the Nature Center presentation and follow-up, I believe as a board, we all knew that was going to happen. That was on our schedule. We went out. I don't understand why that's an extra meeting. We were being informed of the plan. How does that fall into, now that's an extra charge that you have to pay to find out what you just hired your consultant to do for you? So I have some questions there. I'm going to vote to approve these, but I don't want to be in this position again because I don't think it's a very good position for us to be in, to be racking up charges like this without knowing either that we've gone over, or if any certain supervisor is just going rogue, if you will, and having meetings, because I'm going to get into that in contract too. But how do we protect ourselves, I guess, going forward from this? Maybe anyone else on the board, any ideas?
Well, Josh, the question I have is when you say the board is the owner, is that one member of the board? 5? What's the number?
Well, it's really up to the board to determine what that process is going to look like as far as who's going to be the point of communication with the consultant as far as what meetings are going to take place and that sort of thing. I think the contract specifies that someone should be designated as the county representative for contract purposes. So, I mean, it would be that person that's designated, which would most likely be the board chair. I mean, the board could set it up differently than that, but I think it's more of an internal decision with the board as far as what's this going to look like when we're requesting services under the contract.
If I may I ask a question of fellow board members? As someone who was not elected and were sitting in this chair on October 14, 2014, in the meeting in question, how was this done in the past, or if we respect some sort of precedence, what was your understanding or agreement in the past of who would set up meetings? Was it the current chair at that time? Were you voting in order to extend the scope of the contract, or how many additional meetings? Because many of these meetings, of course, occurred before my time.
And they did, and Larry may have a different perception. What happened then, we had a scope of work, which was the 2050 plan. We contracted, $54,000, and built into that was the extra $7,700. I assumed that we had not used up all of that $7,700 when we were going to the nature center. You know, we were billed 9 months later. So it was my assumption that it was upon our engineering firm or our consulting firm to let us know we had exceeded that. That's where I'm not sure. Now, and as far as who was calling and doing meetings, usually it came to a board and all 5 of us would decide. Now, some of these, even back then, I know there was a meeting with new supervisors. I don't know who set that up. That never came to the board. So to answer that, there wasn't a real good plan other than I thought it was all within the scope of what we had contracted for, and that we would be alerted if we went over, and we were never alerted that we went over, I guess. Obviously, the services were rendered. These things happened. I don't question that, and probably very good service. So
I can understand all that, and I personally, to reiterate what you said before, on October 14th, it doesn't make sense to me personally how a master plan rollout presentation for the whole board would be outside of the scope. But I think we should request a little more detail going forward.
I do too, and I think it's incumbent to know. You know, I understand with attorney fees, consulting fees, and the like, architects and so on, that, you know, you're on the clock, so to speak, but it's good to know when you are and when you're not. And whether that's a not to exceed or to have an understanding going forward, I think that's important, and I would question those same meetings, even though they, of course, precede my time.
yeah, but you can continue to question them when it is your time, starting on 1/21, when there's meetings. Sure. You know, with Sergeant Bluff, Board of Supervisors, that must have been one of our supervisor meetings. I mean, rollout to cities, I didn't know about it. Meeting with Salix mayor, councilman, and staff, I've never received a report on that.
Nor did I ever receive anything on those things last year.
But it
Those
was
are
all in the
meetings.
scope of work. It was, you got a big project.
Exactly, and that's what some of this stuff is here.
Before we get into that, the first off is the motion to pay all of them from lost funds. Is that simply the motion? The claims.
Well, in order to make a decision, I need to know what just have some
I
clarification
understand
on
that, but
these.
I'm asking for clarification of what.
I think right now, yes, I think ultimately that's
And
what it'll be.
if you have a question, if that meeting was included in the contract or it's outside the scope of the contract, then why would you pay this bill now? Why don't you ask the county attorney to negotiate with him to find out for sure what the explanation is for that bill? And then to move on to that point is that, I don't want to get into this, but the time to talk about these sorts of things are at the contract time and then when you did the bylaws. And the bylaws, I mean, you can argue back and forth, but the bylaws say the chairperson is in charge of the day-to-day operations, and I put that in there, and you folks approved it because that's the way it has always been. If you want to change that, you should change the bylaws, or you should put it into the contract.
Pat, I voted against the contract, and this is not
Nothing is
day-to-day.
done without 3 votes, Larry.
Yeah, but you've got to pay attention.
What do you think?
There never was any thought in giving out a contract that's open-ended with no management on it whatsoever, no designated person, and the chairman. This is not ordinary business. This is business of the board.
We're getting on to the next topic, though. There's two blocks that need to be paid, right, Dennis?
Correct.
First one, and you're referencing the second one with on-call services, so
They're coming out of the same pot.
They're going to come out of local option sales tax. That's where we paid everything else. I needed the board to say that. But you're approving 2 different claims, one for contract 1 and contract 2, total $28,000.
Is it 2 motions, or do you want one?
Well,
That's what I'm asking, is
if you're going to break it down,
if you're going to question one, then you shouldn't pay it.
right, you can split this into the two contracts. If you question number 1, we need to go back and talk to McClure Engineering and see if some of these should have been an initial rollout, the $54,000. Also, to help alleviate some of this, we have talked with Mr. Lutz from McClure Engineering, and he takes a little bit of the blame here for not billing us monthly. That is being corrected. Now we will be billed monthly, so you'll know every month, not 7 or 8 months later. He admits that that was a problem there, and it happens with other deals too, with our attorneys, things like that. We want billed on monthly so we know where we're at.
Well, it's been my very clear experience that Mr. Lutz does not show up here without an invitation. So somebody had to request his attendance
Correct.
at that meeting.
Correct.
And that's, I think, Jackie's question. I know it's my question, is do all 5 supervisors have that luxury of calling Mr. Lutz and asking him to come to a meeting or
No.
appear before the board?
No,
Well, who does?
the chair. Just as you've done it for so many years.
A couple weeks ago, Jeremy said that he called the meeting with Lutz. I've never seen a report back from that.
What meeting?
Right? When did I say I called a meeting with Terry Lutz?
You told me that when, the day we did our last road tour.
That I requested that the chair ask to bring in some members from Salix. I didn't personally call Mr. Lutz.
Well,
I thought you
I
did.
called
I
him.
apologize. I thought that's what you told me.
No.
I apologize too.
But still, there's never been a report back on that. The rest of the board doesn't have a clue what that meeting was about. If we're talking economic development or a consultant,
There's some things you don't talk about in public, Larry, and you know that.
well, and I give you that, Mark. I have a phone.
Yeah, so do I.
I didn't call the meeting.
I know you didn't. Just like all the meetings you called and you never told me about.
That's not correct, Mark.
Oh, yes, it is.
Let me-
We got a motion on the floor?
regardless of, sorry.
You want to do these in 2 separate motions, or you want to do them all one,
Was
not
one,
question either
I
one?
mean, there was a clear question as to whether the rollout was an extra meeting or not. I would recommend that you make an
Okay.
ask about that.
I would concur with that. I
So
think
move to table contract one until we get further clarification?
That's not the only one I need clarification on, so.
Okay, well, maybe we can get our list together.
You have a motion on the floor right now to pay both bills out of the loss funds.
And it sounds like Supervisor Smith is willing to rescind that motion. Would that be
what I said?
appropriate?
Rescind
Is that what I
As
said?
long as everybody's okay with that, you can
Well,
rescind
the
that.
original motion to pay,
Yes, I
right?
have rescinded it, yes.
I'm supportive of what
Okay,
the road
that's
you're
fine.
going down.
All right, we need a motion to table Bill 1.
We need the motion withdrawn first.
No, she withdrew it.
Done.
I moved to withdraw.
Nobody objected. It's
Right.
okay.
Oh, I just have to withdraw, okay.
All right, need a motion to table number 1.
I would move to table number 1.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Need a motion to approve number 2. I'll move it.
This part. Dennis, this is all the on-call.
Can we get a second?
Yes. Go, Pat.
Yes.
Yes.
You made the motion, did I get a second? Did you get a second?
Second for discussion,
Okay.
Discussion.
yes.
Okay, back to Matthew's question. Yes, this is all items on contract number 2. This is the Woodbury County On-Call Engineering Services Contract, which was signed March 3rd, approved by the Board of Supervisors.
While I'm not familiar with a lot of these meetings, nor I've been informed, I do believe that it probably falls within the contract that we signed. The engineer, or the consulting firm was on call. Evidently, he was called to several meetings. I would like to know what some of these are, and if you're not able to discuss them in public, I would appreciate a phone call. And in the future, I am not going to approve these claims after the fact without being informed. I will today because I think this is a good consultant. I think he does good work for us. But I don't like an open-ended contract. I don't like on-call without any kind of direction. The only ones I really understand on here are the Dogwood Trail projects because that came to this board. So,
All right, ready? All those in favor say aye.
Could you have a roll call, please?
Roll call.
Should we add local option sales tax to be paid from to this motion?
Yes.
Okay.
That work for everybody?
Clausen?
No.
Smith?
aye.
Taylor?
Aye.
Hung?
Aye.
Monson?
Aye.
Back to contract 1. Do you want Jeremy to call Terry, or do you want me to sit with him?
Joshua.
You want
You
me
and
to do it?
Joshua?
I mean, sorry.
It's okay.
Joshua and myself to call them together, and we'll get this straightened out on this rollout.
Yep.
And we can probably do that tomorrow or the next day, whenever you're available. Sooner the better, so we can get it on next week's agenda.
Very good.
Great, thank you.
Dennis, get with me as well after.
Bud?
I said get with me as well.
Okay,
on that.
absolutely. We'll get a 3-way conference.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. 3 to 2.
4 to 1.
4 to 1. Oh, okay. All right, here we go. Gary Stevenson. Gary's been working on us for years. And I think he finally made it.
I like to hear government at work. I had to make a phone call last night to see if I had to report for jury duty this morning, and luckily I did not. That's what I get for voting. I'm going to put it up here so the board can see. This is, for some of you, I think for 3 of you, this is kind of a rehash, I guess, from 2011, I think it was. And basically, what I'm trying to do and have been trying to do is get one of these. This is a 1934 lithograph of the United States Constitution. And I have been in the process since 2009 to get one of these in every courthouse in the state of Iowa. My father, prior to his death, he did basically 178 constitutions in 87 cities, and that included 25 courthouses. He borrowed $15,000 from a gentleman in Fort Dodge, and anyway, he did not have the money to pay it back, so since 2009, I have been on a process. I have finished my dad had done 25 courthouses. I found 3 others. I personally have finished 67 courthouses in 67 counties. I have 4 counties left: Scott, Polk, Johnson, and Lynn County. I have 1 county that was sorry, we're not going to hang it in our courthouse, and that was just a little north of us here in Sioux County, where I didn't ask the reason, they didn't tell me, and I know there was places to hang it. But anyway, when I was here before, I met with the board. The board said they were kind of interested, so I went downstairs and met with some gal because this is
Historical building.
This is on the National Register of Historic Buildings, like the courthouse in Fort Dodge is too. But anyway, and most of the courthouses I deal with. But anyway, so I came down here, met with the gal, and it kind of never went anywhere, so I just continued on. And now I'm just kind of filling in spots. I've had cancer in my ear. My mom has lost a cousin, and cousin, and I've lost a couple cousins, and I've now finished a constitution in 1 courthouse in the last 7 years. And I've actually, and my friend that has these prints that I buy them from, he has over 100 left. So this morning I went to Albert Lee, Minnesota in Born Free County, and got their approval to sell one there, and then next door in their county. So I'm going to expand and sell them in Minnesota, and I'm going to try to get one in every state around Iowa. And basically what I try to do is honor veterans. I don't know if you've seen the booklets I have. And what I try to do is honor veterans. And the last county I finished was Lynn County, and I met with the Veterans Affairs Commission, and literally they wanted one for the courthouse, and they had one group, Ambulance Post 6. I got some nice photographs of that. And they were the one that put one in the courthouse, and then there was another gentleman who did one on behalf of combat veterans, and he wanted to put it, they got a nice building with all kinds of Grant Wood, murals, and it's a really nice building. You come down here, there's just Grant Wood, this huge, but anyway, he bought one for this, it's called the Lynn County Community Service Building, and that's where the Veterans Affairs, and he put one next to the Veterans Affairs office on behalf of combat veterans. And it was a different wording on a plaque, but basically all I'm asking from the board is, and your supervisors up there, they were commissioners, so I don't know the difference, but all I'm asking from the board is, and I've talked to the gentleman up in the 7th floor now that handles whether, what can go on the building now, and
Has that gentleman figured out where to put this?
I can't remember what I had for lunch, and I didn't have lunch because I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning and been on the road. So you do look familiar. But anyway, this gentleman and his secretary or her helper, we went down and we were looking at the big brick pillars you got there as you come in, and we were looking at that and thought maybe it would look good there. It's just a matter of funding, and then what would you like on the plaque? And basically, like I said, I'm not asking for any money, although I got a phone call from Matthew, and I've had just real quick. I know you're busy. I had one board. The chairman of the board paid for it,
No, don't get carried away.
And I've had the board.
Long
take care of
pause.
it. And then I had, like I was talking to Matthew, we've had counties where just the elected officials did it, basically on behalf of veterans. And I had one county in Van Buren was Keosauqua. I went to a meeting and they started handing $100 bills up to me. And there was an old boy in the back, and he looked like Santa on vacation. And he says, "I'll give you $100," but I says, "You don't want any of these plaques. It's just one plaque." And that's the picture that's in the one book from Keosauqua County. But anyway, I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to finish the last, even if I do not complete Sioux County, I still have done 99 courthouses thanks to Lee County having 2 courthouses, or 2 county seats and 2 courthouses. So I'll still have done 99 counties when I finish. And I also have, the Iowa chapter of the DAR is going to do the one in Polk County Courthouse.
So how much money are we talking?
I was doing 700 today, but or 750 up north, but it was 700 when I first came here, and I'll leave it at $700 basically. I got a gentleman that I pay $150 for the print, then to have it framed and matted. You're talking, it's ready to hang. And basically just, and I pay about, depending on the plaques, $350 to $400. I'm not trying to get rich, but I'm also trying to help the guy out with the prints, and I've given him almost $5,000 since I started, and like I said, I've done 67 courthouses and I've sold 8 individuals. So.
Even if we did this, it might take a few months to get the National Park Service and the State Historical Society to agree on a hold somewhere. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I think it's wonderful, and I think it's a great gesture you're doing, and really appreciate you bringing it. I think we should accept it. I don't see why we wouldn't. It's beautifully done, and I'm certainly willing to chip in. I know put some more skin in the game on behalf of us as elected officials might be a good thing for the courthouse. So I'd certainly be willing to chip in, and if the fellow supervisors would, if other elected officials would.
Well, you could also take it out for gaming dollars too.
What's your pleasure? I can go either way.
Ed, I don't want to question you, but are you sure we can hang this in the courthouse?
I could say tomorrow. I'm pretty sure we could, yes. I would think based on conversations I've had, we could. But I can say it for sure.
Because it's pretty sticky, I know.
Yeah. As far as
Who do you have to go to?
To go to the National Park Service.
I'm just curious because I haven't had to do it before, and when I went to.
I think we're okay based on their parameters. Everything. One of the things that's changed greatly in the last few years is that epoxy is a much better compound than it used to be, and they can fill in holes extremely easily. So putting a hole in something now is as big a deal as it used to be. That said, I think we can have tomorrow morning.
Okay, and then you say there's what the wording on the plaque would be at the bottom? Is that?
Yeah, that's basically up to the board. Usually what I've been doing is I have a thing that's on there now, and it basically just says this lithograph was printed in 1934. It was supposed, and from what I understand, it was put in a warehouse and then found in 1987, and then basically just says some other things, and it says, if I remember right, something about acknowledging the uniqueness of our forefathers and then honoring those, or never forget those who served and sacrificed defending it. And then basically what I try to do now is maybe say presented in say June 2015 or July, and then dedicated to the men and women of Woodbury County who have served, will serve, or are serving and will serve the United States Armed Forces and Reserves. That's almost, I've been out doing it from the beginning to honor veterans, so that's kind of, the wording is kind of changed. But
Can everybody live with the plaque he's got?
I'm sorry?
Is that what you just described, sir? Is the plaque that's on there?
The plaque right now says the Constitution. Printed in 1934, this lithograph was discovered over 50 years later in Chicago in 1987. As we celebrate over 225 years since the enactment of this great document, may each of us come to enjoy its beauty. May we also recognize our founding fathers for their unique wisdom, and to never forget those who have served and sacrificed defending it. That's basically usually we put a date on it to kind of give it a date, because I've done, like I said, my dad has had the one in Webster County Courthouse was given by a bank, and they built a deal into they got wainscoting too like that, and they kind of looks like they put a board behind it and got it hanging there. It's been there since 1995, so it's been there 20 years. And look good.
Okay, so you still think we should add a date to it? Probably would be good.
I would add a date just to give it some context of when it was.
Yeah.
And so that way, of 20 years, people,
So this one isn't ours to keep.
Oh no, this I just had made up.
It's a visual.
Actually, I had it made in 2009. I had two of them. I had a wood one and then this one, but then I was kind of broke, and I used the wood one. They had the mint frames, and then instead of spending $150, because I had some trouble back in January. And neither here nor there. So.
Okay, what's your pleasure? Need a motion. Source of money. Go.
I think we should defray the cost somehow, whether it's we all chip in or we use gaming dollars. I'm all right with either one. But what do you guys think?
Can we defray the cost by 50%? Will the Board of Supervisors pick up half and use the rest in gaming revenues and call it a bridge between the two of you? Not that you're opposed in this instance, but does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
I don't want to obligate anyone, but.
Well, just let me add.
I don't know if we can.
I've had a few counties, and let's say you got 5 supervisors, you got 5 other elected officials, basically for $70 a piece, and we could, and then you'd have your name on it. And,
I'm fine with that, but I don't want to obligate other individuals by voting.
Well, we got 2 in here we could obligate.
Just as long as Larry.
Good thinking.
No, I mean, but you would have a plaque with your name if you're the county sheriff, right? I'm assuming. I didn't want to.
What's the total cost? 700?
700. Oh, let's make this simple. Somebody make a motion.
I move that the Board of Supervisors contribute $350 and the rest be paid from general basic.
No.
No,
Gaming revenue?
dollars.
Gaming revenue.
Dollars.
Need a second.
I'd second that, but I want to make sure we can hang this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That's basically why I'm here again, because I was here, like I said, in 2011, and now that I'm not going to get them all done anyway, so I'd like to get one here, and like I said, I'm trying to do 2 things: remind people of the foundation of our country, and honor veterans.
And thank you for that.
And that's basically what I'm trying to do now. So.
And it really is a nice gesture, carrying on
It
is.
I got some pictures from the ambulance post 6 from when I did the one down in Lynn County in Cedar Rapids, and there was about 6 of them there together with the Constitution, and looking proud. And
Can you coordinate the plaque with Mr. Gilliland?
I can, sure. If it's a matter of wording, that you don't want.
Is everybody comfortable with what that says? And add the date or add,
Yeah.
the names of supervisors? I mean, you can put the names
No.
around, but I mean.
the reason is because we're gonna get Dave and Pat to chip in and we're gonna hit up Mike.
What about?
Maybe just a big
And PJ.
plaque right next to it. No, I'm just kidding. With all our names on it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
We can work
Aye.
on that.
Opposed, say nay.
What was the motion?
Motion,
Motion was that the Board of Supervisors would contribute 50% of the total cost of the
50%.
plaque, and the other 50% would come from gaming revenues.
Or come from other elected officials.
All right.
Yeah, you want to
think
change
you
that to
said
elected
board.
Maybe
officials?
give me $350 now, I'll go lose it at the casino, and then we're even. So.
then we'll get it back through gaming now.
How's that? No,
Okay, very good. You're on. That's the guy to talk with.
all right. Thank you.
You bet. Mark. Nara. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, I scratched one here too quick. Juvenile detention.
Not a bad thing. Is it gonna go in the courthouse? That's what I don't have a clue.
Contract with CBM Food Service.
Mark Olson, Diane McTeer, juvenile detention. We're here to ask the board chairman to sign an amendment that would extend our contract one additional year with CBM. By doing that, that sets in the state cost of a 3.1% CPI increase only. By doing that, it allows us to continue with the current provider who has worked with us for the past countless years. And Diane McTeer is here as our contract person. She can answer any questions you have regarding the contract.
Is it going up?
It's going up 16 or 6 cents.
You got to get right in front of that microphone. Sorry.
The cost is going up 6 cents, so it'll go up to $5.22. It went up 16 cents last year due to CPI, 6 cents this year. This is our second year of extending the contract.
Are you happy with the meals?
Yes.
Yes, I think overall we get good meals.
They're not throwing the food around.
And the service, they do well by us. When we call, they're there.
Move the chairman be authorized to sign.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Thank you very much.
One more year.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Mark.
Mark Nair, Woodbury County Engineer. I was not eager to take over juvenile detention. First item we have on the agenda is consideration of approval of the contract for repairs to the Haskell Bridge. We let that project a couple of weeks back. We now have the signed contract back from Dixon Construction. Total cost of the project, $35,800. This is a FEMA-funded project.
Need a motion.
Move approval of the contract for Haskell Avenue Bridge repairs.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Consideration of award of bids for replacing Bridge P260, Grundy Avenue Bridge, southwest Climbing Hill.
This is the bridge project that we let last week. We have reviewed the bids. I spoke with Ed Casper, Assistant Contracts Engineer at Department of Transportation. Costs this year are running higher than what we have seen in prior years. They've had a trend of 5 to 8% on most items, and our costs were not out of line. They've had a couple of counties let projects with no bidders.
Ouch.
So, this is one of the things that my assistant does is tends to beat the bushes and reminds the contractors to get their bids in, particularly if we haven't heard from anybody with questions. And, we try and make sure that there is interest and competition in our projects. Having reviewed the bids, I recommend award of the bids to Graves Construction of Spencer, Iowa, for a bid price of $341,966.06.
Need a motion.
Move it.
Need a second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
The Next project I put in, assuming that the DOT bid package would be here. It has not arrived yet. I recommend that we table this item until the DOT award or bid award recommendation is presented to us.
Okay. Need a motion to table?
Move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.
The $997,421.34 is the apparent low price as read. There was only one bidder for that project. Next item we have is the consideration of the approval of construction plans to replace Bridge X101, 325th Street Bridge. It's in Section 29. It's just west of Danbury on 325th Street. We're looking at a June 23rd letting. This is one of the special project levy bridges.
Need a motion to
Move it.
approve?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
This requires all 5 signatures.
Okay.
Next item I have is a couple of weeks ago I presented our policy on driveways and entrances, and then on sign installation, inspection, and maintenance. I'm bringing those back to the board today for concurrence and approval. I didn't receive any comments from board or public on them, so
Need a
no
motion?
changes have been made.
I'll move it. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Next item.
The next item that I have is the presentation of 2 of our additional policies in our Policy and Procedures Manual. The first of those is our road upgrade request policy. This one was approved by the board in 2013. It arose out of a desire for some folks to create building lots out there on their farm. We have a lot of our roads that don't meet current geometric requirements. We have some very short sight distance over the top of our hills. When we get into the rolling portions of our county, we're lucky if we have 25 to 35 miles an hour sight distance over the top of some hills. And we were looking for a way to accommodate folks who want to build a home, develop, improve a farmstead in areas where we don't have adequate sight distance and geometrics. And we arrived at this policy. It's loosely similar to what you've seen on the road paving policy, where we're passing along the expense of doing these to the folks who are interested in having the work done and having it benefited. Basically, when we have a request for this type of work, I prepare an estimate of the cost of doing that work, and then the landowner has the option of signing an agreement to participate in the work. Then it's brought before the board to get concurrence on the project. We've had one landowner exercise that at this point in time. We've had, I believe, 2 others investigated but declined to go through it. It does give us the ability to adjust the condition of roads for development when somebody is determined to do that kind of work. The second policy I'm proposing is our departmental vehicle use policy. This one is really pretty simple. It's been in practice but never in print. We have 4 county employees who serve as district foremen. Each of them take home a county pickup at night. When they are on vacation or on leave or out of town, the designated sub-foreman would then take home that vehicle and typically takes the foreman's phone as well, so that if I need to make a call, or in the event they can't get a hold of me, dispatch has to make a call. All they have to do is hit one of those 4 numbers for whichever district the emergency is occurring in, and they get that individual. Part of the hiring package for the county engineer was to allow that vehicle as a take-home vehicle. I don't exercise that option at this point in time, but it may be important someday when my successor comes along that he would be more interested in being able to do that than what I am. When we hit on some financial issues a few years back, I parked my vehicle, and we also did not renew the position of maintenance supervisor, who was one of the other people who took a vehicle home at the time, as a cost-cutting measure. And we looked at it as something that was both extending the life of the current county equipment and saving the county some money. But those are the two that are presented to the board for comment. I don't know if you have any questions on those policies at this point. If you do, I'm here to answer them. If not, I'll bring them back to you again in a couple of weeks like we did these, and continue in working through the secondary road policies, trying to get all of that information codified, so to speak, and under a single cover. One of the next things I'll be bringing is the snow ordinance. We had a subcommittee discuss that last November, I think it was. We had our attention bent to other projects, and I want to get around and get that before the board. Now is really probably a better time to be looking at that anyway, when we're not under the threat of snowflakes, and we can look at it from a budgetary perspective and without the heat of people's intent to see us expand that coverage without having an opportunity to look at the budgetary impacts. Looking at it now, too, also sets us up for, if changes are made to the ordinance, that we have plenty of time to budget those in so that they'll be effective for the fiscal year 2017 budget.
So you want us to approve the two that you discussed?
Well, I didn't have those on for approval today. I gave them to you for information.
Okay.
Just move to receive.
All right. Next item.
I think that's it for me.
Yep.
Until we get to drainage, so.
Make that drainage go away, will you?
Well, that's part of the problem.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next up, Mr. Brown, Mr. Headed.
We've got a bid opening today. We've got two bids for a window replacement project at Climbing Hill. Over the last several years, as we've evaluated the building, the three things that stood out from an energy standpoint was the boilers were ancient, diesel fuel. We replaced those. We re-roofed the building. We added insulation to the building. And the next most costly place we're losing energy is through the single pane glass windows and the block windows in the building. And we've got some money scheduled in this budget year. We did a full pricing on all the windows. What we'd ask today is we open them and then refer them back to Mike and I and Dennis for see if we can come forward with a plan on how to fund it.
It's not in your budget.
There's some in the capital improvements budget,
Okay.
in this year and next year.
There's 15,000 budgeted, but they had a couple other items that if this does go over the project cost, we can skip the other two projects, combine them. So it could be a total of 45,000.
Okay, here we go.
First bid is from HCI. Their bid is $78,741.
78,000.
Yes, sir. Next one is from Sands.
Who?
Sands Construction.
Okay.
Let's see, where'd they put the number? $47,424.68. We did contact two other people, and nobody's even. One guy just flat out turned it down. Didn't even want to drive out there. Another guy did drive out, but he called back and opted out. He didn't.
How many windows?
I'd have to look back at the bid sheet, but it's 40-something, and it's the big glass block. Our proposal is to take out all the glass block, take out all the single pane, frame them, insulate them with 2x6s and insulation, sheetrock on the inside, vinyl siding on the outside, and then put smaller windows in some, and eliminate the windows altogether in others. So we're just losing energy out those windows. We're spending $16,000 a year to heat a building, and most of it's going right out the windows. So.
Need a motion to send this back and get a pencil sharpener.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second.
Discussion?
Can you forward a copy of those scanned to the supervisors? Is that?
You want a copy of the list of work too?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Yeah,
I assume we own the building, correct? We did buy it?
Yes. We bought that in 2011.
Yes.
In the middle of the flood.
Yes.
Where it makes a lot of things higher is a lot of these windows are quite a ways up in the air. So you gotta look at the point of that and everything being so far off, they gotta haul a lot of debris away, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just a quick job.
Do you know if Mid-American's partner companies, Nexen or Clear Results, has looked at any sort of rebate potential? Because I know there's some that are grandfathered in or some are not.
The only thing that I know that Mid-American hasn't, but now if Baker Group was to go out and look at this, there could be a potential to get the low-grade loan, the low-interest loan to do the upgrades, wouldn't there be? You're more familiar with that than...
Right, but there's also rebate potential that
Right.
Mid-American, so I don't know if that's been reviewed in the past or...
Mid-American electricity, but we're on propane.
Okay.
Is that a rebate applied to?
No, not unless they're the...
Was Baker Group looking at this building? I believe
it's on their...
list.
Right.
So, there's a lot of differences that could be thrown in the picture here if we was to go that way on some of these projects.
It's definitely the number one energy draw in the building. I mean, we've got thermal imaging equipment that we use for fires and stuff. When we go out there at night in the wintertime, it looks like the building's bleeding. It's 1938 construction.
I got a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Very good. Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is a vision for rural Woodbury County and meetings out in the county. I understand that the latter part of the subject will be taken up by Supervisor Ong, so I won't belabor that. But this is, and I'm giving you some rewording because the final saved version didn't make it into the agenda. That was my error. So just wanted to put this statement here that below reflects citizen input. That rural Woodbury County should be a place that people can live together with confidence that their freedoms, property are secure as they express hope for a bright economic future built upon a healthy mix of traditional agriculture and other business enterprises, and confidence that people are capable and best qualified to determine how to use their property in a manner that well serves them today and their heirs tomorrow. So here's the vision statement from looking at the rural folks out in Woodbury County. And I just wanted to reiterate this. This is not our county's vision statement, this is the people's. And so it says this: where sharing a strong sense of community, good people live freely without fear or want, where all people and businesses prosper, rooted in a diverse agriculturally based economy, where stewardship of natural resources is a matter of individual and community pride and ownership, where government exists to serve people and to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. I think that's a great statement, and I think it's one we ought to affirm and uphold, and it's one that this board has affirmed in the past. So that came out of being out in rural Woodbury County and having meetings. So this is from the General Development Plan for Woodbury County, and so it's something we're in the middle of right now. This was developed in 2005. This is a stretch to 2025, and so we're halfway there. I wanted to distribute this then. I'm sure some of you have seen this before. This is the planning for 2025, the General Development Plan for Woodbury County. And what I'd like to do is just give it for your information and perusal. I think it's a very good document. I applaud the past board on coming up with, and think it would be good for us to review as we talk about getting out into the county, possibly with Supervisor Ung's next subject matter. I also think it would be interesting to task our budget analyst our planning and zoning director, secondary roads, and our economic development director with looking at this and seeing in the past 10 years, where has our direction, where has some of the demographics and needs of those in the county from their perspectives changed, and what opportunities lie ahead for Woodbury County. So just wanted to give that for your information and perusal, and a vision statement that I think for rural Woodbury County is one we can all agree upon. And so with that, just wanted to give that for information, and if there's any discussion, otherwise we can move into talking about being out in Woodbury County.
I guess I have a question. Where did this come from?
This is from the Woodbury County planning for 2025. It was developed in 2003 originally, then rescinded, and they came back with a 2005 plan. This is something that, I don't know if you were on the board at that time, but they had put together and adopted in November 22nd of 2005. I think it's a very good document. I have copies for any of you who would like to look at it, but talks about the planning process. Mr. Palello gave me a copy of this based on our discussion last week on a vision statement. This is different in the sense that this isn't a vision statement for us internally. This is the people's vision statement. And it was gathered, the board affirmed, from public participation, 4 town hall meetings with over 100 people each out in Sloan, Correctionville, Sergeant Bluff, and Mobile attracted these crowds, and that's how this vision statement was put together. And they shared their concerns, which are detailed. I think it's an excellent document. And then it guides with goals: an agricultural, economic development goal, parks and rec goal, commercial and industrial goal, public safety goal. So all these goals are here, and I think it's a good document for us to review and maybe bring back any thoughts on in subsequent meetings.
Okay, discussion? All right.
This is already in existence. I mean, this has not changed since 2005 or whatever it was.
Right, I think that's correct, that this is the most up-to-date. And so I'm not suggesting that we necessarily change it, but I thought it'd be good to review, especially since we're at that halfway point between 2005 and 2025, and see how well we're doing and where we need to keep going.
Okay. Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Supervisor Taylor, for passing these out. I think it's very good to have. We're apparently halfway through the 20-year rural plan, so it's good to review that. And hopefully we can add some ideas to it. This discussion and action item is in regards to scheduling, I hope, our first Woodbury County Board joint meeting in a rural area with a city council. In contrast to most Iowa counties, Woodbury's county seat is in Sioux City, is not geographically located near the center. This presents county supervisors with the unique challenge and opportunity to increase accessibility to rural residents by periodically relocating our board meetings in collaboration with rural city governments. There's, of course, been talk about attendance at these meetings. Has the location and time change, quote, worked? We can't change much based on where we are. There's a reason people don't come to our meetings from Danbury, and half of that is because of mileage. So as we go out in the rural communities, I think I read something in this plan just now about, it was the thought of the previous board that they needed groups less than 100 because otherwise it was hard to draw out coherent responses from attendees. So they must have had quite a bit of involvement out in the rural communities. I think that's great. It also betters transparency and accountability when county government is committed to traveling to ideal locations where rural residents can see county business conducted in their town. And I was hoping to get feedback from all the board members on, but I think we have something that could work with Moville. Just some background, at our January 13th meeting, the board voted unanimously to authorize the chairperson to proceed to set up joint meetings within the cities of Woodbury County. Less than a week later, Moville Mayor Jim Fisher notified all of us that he would very much enjoy being our first meeting site. But due to budget meetings, we were unable to accommodate that. I think now is a good time to revisit it. Per those conversations I've had with him, the Mobile City Council is willing to undertake this joint meeting at Mobile City Hall on Wednesday, June 24th, and to further allow the county board to conduct their meeting at our normal time of 4:30. It was originally 5:30, but they moved it a little to accommodate us, accommodate our county's normal time. And the city council's meeting would take place after our adjournment. I don't foresee any financial impact aside from moving equipment if it's needed or if it's already there. I'm not sure. I would recommend, if this date works for the board and if there's no other obstacles, that we should accommodate their normal meeting day of Wednesday by changing our meeting on June 23rd to June 24th, that we conduct our normal business at this meeting and endeavor to schedule more agenda items of rural interest and for public comment, perhaps even an update on this plan that Supervisor Taylor passed out. Given the lead time of 3 weeks, I think that's a perfect amount of time for the coordinating governments to have time to plan and notify constituents. Mobile City Council is eager to get something, get an answer back from us so they can notify the record and get people involved and have them show up. So I would, before I make a motion, I just wanted to check with the board if that is an agreeable time, what your thoughts were. It's been a long time since we said that we'd like to do this, and I think if we're going to do it, we should probably do it now.
It's due. I have a meeting with Jim Fisher to work out the agenda if we go forward in the next week and get that ironed out. Is there some concern about the cost of doing this?
What do you mean?
Other than the City Journal? It will involve some mileage. I think we need to take this equipment out there so that it can be uploaded. Otherwise, we're going to have a blank board meeting. Probably make more people mad doing that than happy moving out.
I agree.
I think it's a great gesture, and I think it shows to the people that this government works for them, and we'll come to you. And so I think it's good.
Need a motion?
Can we talk about the claims, Ed, with are we under some timeline with that one payment that we make all the time with the medical insurance, and then plus any other claims and payroll, how that all?
Actually, it will just delay the payments by 1 day because now with the meetings before the meetings were moved to the evening, we actually cut checks on Tuesday because they were approved. With the meetings now at 4:30, we can't do that until Wednesday morning. So if you do a Wednesday meeting, just so everyone knows that those checks won't be cut until Thursday because they won't be approved until that point in time. So if it is going to be that way, to make sure that the departments are aware of that so they can make sure their credit card bills and this type of things are in.
Thank you.
We don't meet a deadline.
We can notify Walmart.
Pardon?
We should be able to notify Walmart. I think we're talking into a 1 week exception. And it happens to be the last week of the month. Or I'm sorry, the first week of the month.
Well, they were very naughty last time we talked to them about
They were very set in when they wanted that payment. So.
Yeah. First week of the month is easiest to get the change made. But we really have to.
But in future, I mean, this issue will come up again and again, or if you move these meetings, or I just want the board to be aware of that.
Well, is it just the first of the month? Is that the problem?
No.
Well, no, it's every week. We require a time by wire every week. What happens is those last payments of the month are actually billed to us, so we have until the end of the month to pay those. That's why we receive that information the first week. So the first week of the month is easiest for us. It's pretty much a given that we pay back. The others we've got.
Is there any thought to having a short meeting in the regularly scheduled time for at least getting 3 folks here just to pay the bills, and then have your meetings, joint meetings, as special meetings, or.
That might not be a bad idea, because I'm thinking if we go forward with this, and if they occur on a more regular basis, like property sales, whatnot, I mean, it may make sense to do some of our business meeting here and then schedule a second meeting that week or that month.
So you're suggesting adding a special meeting and having a abbreviated normal meeting on Tuesday here for bids and claims?
Yes, that would work well for administrative purposes.
You had just scheduled a June 23rd letting as well, so if we need to adjust that, we need to know pretty quickly. We have the letting documents about to go out the door.
Okay.
So we could set that up at 4:30, it'll only take 15, 20 minutes max.
What time was the letting?
Typically, we work with Karen on that, but I think we had 4:45 tagged for it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that, I don't want to get into the minutia, but it'll be very important when we send out agendas and when we let the public know that in about 52 font, we have the location of the meeting, because I'd hate to inconvenience people who come here thinking that the meeting is going to be in Sioux City when it's actually in Mobile, so we'll want to advertise that very clearly.
We'll distinguish it as a special meeting then, not as a normally scheduled Tuesday meeting, correct?
Yes, I would suggest that.
Well, the other thing, as I think about this, I'm going to try to talk Jim into going to the community center for the space, and it will be kind of strange if on YouTube our meeting is held and then they have their meeting and they don't have any voices. So I think it would be appropriate to rent some additional microphones so that they also would be on YouTube, which might spur them to do that as well.
Is their meeting after ours? Can they just borrow ours?
Well, what do we have a conversation? I would hope we have an interaction of some sort.
Mike, does that work?
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to work.
Why don't we just have our regular board meeting on Tuesday and then
go to their
in
meeting?
Mobile on Wednesday? We'll go there on Wednesday.
I think it would be good to get it on YouTube where we had 2 meetings where people could see what we're doing. If we have a regular meeting and then we go out there with no recording of that, I think we were missing something.
Yeah, I think we have plenty of time, though, to coordinate all that. I think we should schedule as many normal county functions as possible on Wednesday so they can see their government working, but on issues like the claims, or if we've already scheduled something, or if there's a bidding process that is very procedural, then we can do that on that Tuesday, and hopefully that meeting wouldn't last more than half an hour.
Or less.
Is that agreeable?
I'm agreeable to that. I hope we can consider this just not set in stone for the rest of our lives, that we can assess this, come back, see how it works, because I have an idea too that instead of, or maybe in addition of having, set meetings, that we go ahead and conduct our business meeting here, and then we pattern something after maybe what the city council does of Sioux City, and they hold informal coffees, and they just go out, and they actually have very good attendance out, and it's the people's issue. It's not our issues. And it may be a chance for us to more informally interact, and that might be another option we could look at. So I would just ask that you just not be set in your ways right away, that we just come back and talk about what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and if there's any other format that we could look at.
Matthew, motion.
I move the board schedule a special meeting of the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors for June 24th, 4:30 p.m. at Mobile City Hall, in conjunction with the Mobile City Council meeting afterwards, and to authorize the chairperson to coordinate details with Mobile.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, one more item. Mr. Chair, have you thought to contact County Attorney's Office to see if we will have County Attorney representation at the meeting? I mean, has anyone thought
Joshua?
about that part of it?
Can you make that?
Well, if there's issues on the agenda where you think that it would be good to have us there, we can have somebody there. I mean, otherwise, we don't anticipate participating in the meeting. You know, we could save the mileage of paying somebody's mileage out there if we don't need to be there. But
So the answer is yes and no.
if you need us, we'll be there.
All right.
Now, this motion does not affect our meeting of June 23rd.
Correct.
Correct.
But I would just ask the chair, I suppose, to schedule as many items of normal business as possible on Wednesday so that they can see their government working.
We'll do the bills and bid.
And whatever else comes up.
Uh-oh. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Recess the Board of Supervisors meeting, convene Drainage District Trustee meeting. Consideration of approval of resolutions for 2016 Drainage District levies.
This is the time where we set our annual drainage district levies for the numbers changed a little bit. We're actually back down to 11. We picked up a 12th last year, but we've lost the Hackley district.
Good.
Hackley is now a part of the Farmers Drainage District. And in fiscal year 2016, we will need to transfer the remaining balance of the Hackley to the Farmers District. We'll end up having to write them a check for that. The first one we have is the Anthon Central Drainage District. This one has been inactive. It has a very small balance, but our recommendation for next year is a assessment of 0.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor of 0 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
These also require the signature of the auditor to attest. The next one we have is the Bennett McDonald Drainage District. This is a portion of the levee protection in the Smithland area around the Little Sioux River. We recommend a sum of $1,000 be levied against the tracts within this district. This is one of the things that I had hoped to show you all today when we were out with our canceled road tour. This is something that I want to be discussing during your open topics. I will try and keep it brief.
Okay.
$1,000.
Move it.
Need a discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. All right, adjourn Drainage District Trustee meeting.
We're not done
yet. Okay. B.
We have 9 more. The next one we have is the Hackley Lateral, and again, that is to be assessed at 0. Again, Hackley Lateral will be dissolving and becoming part of the Farmers. We are awaiting seeing the paperwork come through from the Farmers Drainage District on that. So recommend 0 for next year.
Move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. That's 3.
The next one we have is the Maple River. We have recommended a sum of $50. Basically, it covers their drainage district dues and the outstanding balance for that district. They do have one warrant out there that needs to be paid.
Need a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Our next one is the Orton Slough Drainage District. That's to be assessed at $60,500. This is to cover the work that the board has contracted, plus the work for which outstanding warrants have been issued at this point in time. We just led a project for $32,250 for the improvements to the original tile line.
Need a motion?
Move for discussion.
Need a second? Okay.
What is the additional?
The additional is they had $24,704.01 of outstanding warrants. Much of that is engineering fees from the work that was done this year on behalf of the Orton with the design of the improvements to that district. Those were issued as warrants that remain unpaid and need to be cashed out next year. They're paying interest on them currently.
That had nothing to do with the project that's being let?
For this year, the 24,704 is all of last year's work, and most of that is due to the INS group, which holds the warrants on that. The work for this year includes the $2,500 engineering fees for the improvements to the tile line. It also includes the $32,250 for the new contract. The balance is effective March 31st. I think that actually included $1,400 of the $2,500 fee for the Ord Slough tile improvements. So we have the $32,250 plus $1,100 that is yet not issued as a warrant.
Do we have a motion, Pat?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Next, we have the Smithland Drainage District. This is the second part of the area surrounding Smithland with the Little Sioux levees. The levy for this is $1,000. Basically, these $2,000 levies take care of the work that our secondary road forces are currently doing with spraying weeds, mowing, repairing the roadways at the top of the dikes, any minor tree cutting needing to be done. But that is only a small part of what Smithland needs, but this does allow us to sustain that level of work out there.
Need a motion? I'll move it. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Next is the Smoky Hollow Drainage District. They have a balance currently. We're not anticipating any work within Smoky Hollow. We do have some money to cover any cleanup or problems that might occur there this year. I'm recommending a levy of $0.
Need a motion?
Move it.
Need a second? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay.
Our next one is the Upper Wolf Creek Drainage District. Upper Wolf Creek suffered some severe damage last year, but it wasn't reported until January, and we really weren't able to assess it to a single storm. We are looking at a bill of approximately $65,000 in total repairs to that district for this year. Portion of that will have to be carried into next year as warrants to be paid upon taxes. I'm recommending a levy in the sum of $51,000.
Need a motion?
Move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
One of the comments and the challenges in the Wolf Creek and the Upper Wolf Creek is that they're heavily tree lined. We have a lot of farmers who have been doing clearing and just dropping those trees in the creek. And what happened is on a property just north of County Road D54, adjacent to a county property which is damaged as well, we had a number of those trees lodge against trees that were still in the channel. Basically, we had the toilet bowl flush that cut over a 300-foot diameter hole into a farm field. We have to repair those because they set the stage for these districts to change their course, which is part of what the function of our job is to keep those running straight in the manner that they are designed. It's unfortunate that those things happen. I wish there was some way we could get people to stop doing that, because we've seen it on the West Fork of the Little Sioux, we've seen it on the Little Sioux, we've seen it on the Wolf and Upper Wolf, where we've had, I think, unintentional damage done, but it is done through negligence and a lack of education. It's very frustrating to go out there and have those things pointed out to us when we can't go after outside aid because we don't know about it in time to be able to make a claim to any outside agency to help. Next one we have is Weber Creek. Recommend levy in the sum of $500.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.
Next, we have the Wolf Creek Drainage District. This is downstream of the Upper Wolf. The dividing line is just south of County Road D54. D54 is also known as Deer Run Trail. We had some minor repairs that need to be done out there. The Wolf Creek had a balance that is sufficient to cover those. The $4,000 is so that if we have some additional repairs next year to cover that.
Need a motion?
Move it.
Need a second? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Next, we have the Wolf Creek Pumping District. This district is now inactive. The pumping district has finally paid off its bills and actually has a very small balance. Wolf Creek Pumping District 2 and Wolf Creek Pumping District 3, which will be the next one you're considering, they became the Owego wetland area. They are no longer farmed or pumped. We're anticipating a petition to dissolve these in the not too distant future.
Zero?
Yeah, zero.
The motion.
Move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Wolf Creek Pumping District 3, also zero.
Need a motion?
Move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
We now have our second year levy for the Bennett McDonald Smithland Special Levy of Woodbury County, Iowa. We established this levy last year to provide for payment for the riprapping of banks along the Little Sioux River. This is on the left bank south of the Highway 141 bridge. We had a local property owner step up and pay a portion of that bill. We've collected 1 year's taxes on the 3-year loan that the board gave that district in this special case. This second assessment is for $34,000 to make the second installment on payment for that project.
Wow. Need a motion?
Move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
That concludes the setting of assessments for the Wolf Creek drainage districts. The next one I have is discussion of improvements to the Orton Slough. We had hired I&S Group to provide engineering services for improvements to the Orton Slough tile, the 20-inch tile that has been in place since 1912, and the improvement of the ditch that was established by the board serving as trustees in 1986. The ditch runs between the Union Pacific Railroad structure and the main intake, which was intake number 3, as shown in the plans for the tile improvement.
Is that the one at the Luton turnoff?
This would be just south of Luton Turnout. That's exactly where this one's at. Our consultant has taken a look at that, and one of the things that we found is while the Orton Slough district cleaned out that ditch, they don't own that ditch. And his recommendation is, prior to undertaking any projects to clean and remove that ditch, that we actually go through with plans to acquire that property on behalf of the Orton Slough Drainage District. He has requested he's requested the trustees' consideration of that, and has proposed fees for doing the work necessary to acquire the easement, finish the plans, and let it as follows.
Is that the ditch with the trees in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is one that some of the landowners were quite concerned about. We just have really nowhere to work in there right now. Part of that goes through Randy Beck's ground, I know, and I'm trying to think if some of it is in Riette's ground as well. And what the proposal is to get the actual ditch, which would be a permanent taking, plus an easement to allow space on each side of the ditch so that clean-out work can be done in the future. This would allow the district to monitor and prevent the ingrowth of those trees from occurring again. Basically, we're trying to get space to do more than just have a trickle of water flowing through there that is very inadequate right now, to allow us to open that up and do that without an involuntary taking from the landowners. The estimated cost of the right-of-way is about $16,000 for the acreage that will be needed to go through there. The estimated plans for the engineering with the revised scope of services would be design with plans and specs at $1,500. Design administration, that's making the landowner contacts, and they would be taking on the responsibilities for dealing with the landowners out there, $500. And then the right-of-way acquisition, which would include survey, plat preparation, and then coming back to the board with the proper reports and scheduling a hearing for the taking, would be $1,500 to $2,500 to make that occur.
So you're proposing that we levy that on the Orton Slough?
That would be correct. They're the ones who pay the bill for this. And the goal of this project has been to make this drainage district work as well as it can, since it was deemed to be cost prohibitive to bring that district up to full capacity.
So 20 grand to do that?
Well, 20 grand would get plans, right of way, and easement for the ditch.
Oh, then comes the work.
We would have a letting for the clean out of the trees, etc. And you're probably looking at another 15 to 20,000 for the ditch clean. There's a lot of trees to dispose of. We're looking at a wider ditch profile through there.
Can you change the assessment midstream, or do you just do that once a year?
It would be done by warrants. And, as this year they had the $24,000 in warrants, next year when we set the levy, we would set the levy to pay off those expenses. Our consultant typically does not recommend that we take from the taxpayers until we know what we actually need to have from them.
Right.
One of the things that I asked Karen is to look up, probably in the next couple of weeks, we need to have the board set the interest rate for drainage warrants again this year. Last year you set it only for 2015, so we need to look up that resolution, and that'll be a separate action that the two of us are working on to get in front of the board again.
Okay, need a motion? I would move it. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Adjourn. Drainage District Trustee Meeting. Continue Board of Supervisors Meeting. Reports on committees. Anybody have anything?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Last night in your place, attended the City Council meeting and gave them a plaque of our resolution that we passed last week, congratulating them. They were very appreciative and wanted to share that with everybody on the board. Attended the annexation meeting today in Sergeant Bluff and learned about their annexation and the public comments and the Dogwood Trail area and the school portion and the discussion of water and sewer, possibly a regional lift station to handle sewer, and part of what the council handled by resolution, tapping out water and sewer as part of their incentivizing in the voluntary annexation process. The last one that I wanted to share was a conversation with Mark Olson in juvenile detention. Spent some time up there last week. He's completed the rough draft of a policy and procedure book to be PREA compliant, but I'm learning day by day more about PREA, and I've appreciated Sheriff Drew and Major Stallman helping me out. This is a 37-page document on Prison Rape Elimination Act and juvenile facility standards. I shared with Mark about some second thought reservations I had on the contract that we approved for EduCore as far as putting people through that training. I understand from our assistant county attorney we have a 1-month opt-out clause in that. He is going to exercise that training with his 3 assistant supervisors and himself and evaluate that side by side with the materials that, frankly, PREA puts out free of charge and maybe just as good, if not superior. But I'm learning there's a lot more to PREA than just that training. There needs to be a PREA coordinator and a dedicated facility compliance manager as dedicated positions. So this is not going away, and we have challenges, I think, that will we'll need to tackle in the near future. I also spent some time up there and just observed and wanted to share with you that I saw staff interacting with residents in a positive, firm, and respectful way. Appreciate the work that they do. Spoke with an intern there from the University of Iowa, and she related the challenges of both substance abuse and the opportunity she sees working in the field. And then I have been learning more and more about teen court, and I'm hoping the mental health committal program and teen court can be serviced in such a way in the future that serves juveniles. So just gaining a better understanding of that department, and anticipate more to come, especially as it relates to the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And
I got a PRIA report from Steve Schroll over at 3rd Judicial, and I passed it on to the sheriff, I think, and they come out and did a compliance review. Have we had one of those? We're not up yet?
No, we're not up. We have till August 16th.
Looked like a pretty in-depth little piece of work. Oh, you do? Yeah. Wow. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to update the board on what the Emergency Management Commission has been doing. The new coordinator, Michelle Scaff, sent to commission members just a monthly status report on everything she's gone over and been orientated on with Gary and with the different trainings and plannings that her new position is going to, she's going to be taking over a lot of the responsibilities that Gary had. So I just, I'll pass these 4 copies down, and you can just have it for your information.
Okay, we have a gentleman that's been patiently waiting out there for quite a while. Oh my gosh, they're lining up out there. Let's start with Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jim Johnson. I'm here on behalf of the Taxpayers Research Council. We've managed to employ a new executive director. This is his 2nd day on the job. I wanted to introduce him to the board, and so you can put a face with the name. Taylor Goodwin, formerly with Senator Grassley's office in Washington, D.C., has moved back home to get married and start a family. Now, if that's not proof that the TRC has the heart of Sioux City and the area heart, we can't do any more than that than bring somebody home. I want to thank you for the time. I hope Taylor will be a welcome member as he participates or at least observes what you folks do here. We were at council yesterday. We'll be at the school board next week. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer, but he's officially on the job. Look for our Twitter account.
All right.
We're going to summarize these meetings in 140 characters.
Or less.
Maybe we should try to do the same up here.
No, go ahead.
Sheriff Drew?
Just wanted to bring the board up to date on the CF traffic control issue. We anticipated it to be $18,000 and it came in at $12,000. So we were able to cut some of that down, but to proceed, you guys are going to have to kind of decide if there's more money. But we do have money budgeted in July for overtime, but I think it's going to be best that we continue on because we have a lot of traffic issues and concerns with the neighborhood. We set up an unmarked car and did some stops, writing some people that were running a stop sign. So we will continue to address the issues. We met with the neighborhood, and they appreciate our presence, and they appreciate the support they got from you, allowing that extra dollars. But I think we would probably go backwards if we didn't continue on. But so that's my comment, and you guys can figure out what we need to do. But as Mr. Gill pointed out quite well a few weeks ago, that is a public safety issue, and that's the sheriff's concern. So we'll address it as a sheriff's office. And just to slide one away, Mr. Johnson, I'm sure he hired a good employee, but James Van Bruggen will be, he's going to be a tough one to replace, but I'm sure you can do a good job, Tyler. So, thanks. Any questions of me?
Thank you.
Mark, were you going to contact CF about cost sharing on that? I don't remember where that was left.
Jeremy and I are going to go out and visit with CF.
Okay.
Add up. I had two things to go over with, three things, I guess, very quickly. We had a request from Brian Mez. They're having a Mobile Days event this weekend. Part of Mobile Days is they're sponsoring what's called Touch a Truck, where they would like to see the secondary road department perhaps participate by bringing in one of our trucks or motor graders for the kids to see close up, talk to the operator, and maybe be able to climb up into if that doesn't create a potential safety hazard that I'll have to evaluate with Ed. It runs from 10 to 1, so we'd be looking at 3 hours of overtime for at least one staff member. We've already been through this with the fairgrounds. Our guys can't volunteer to run county equipment. When they're running county equipment, it's work. They have to be paid as work. We might have a guy who would take it for comp time, but would the board consider allowing us to participate in this? Just consensus. I know you can't. It's not on the agenda.
You've got the money in your overtime budget, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
I don't have any trouble with it.
I can find the money for it. It's kind of a nice outreach thing. If I just hope I can get a guy who's not busy Saturday. It was kind of short notice, but Brian's here in the crowd and had given me a call today to request that. Second item is, did the board have an idea on when they might like to reschedule the road tour? The 16th will not work on my schedule. The 23rd is a day where I don't know if you're going to want to do it because you've got the abbreviated board meeting that day. The 30th is wide open right now.
Yeah.
I'm not available on the 30th.
We have arbitration on that day.
Okay.
I'd like to occupy part of your day the 30th.
Pardon?
I would like to occupy part of your day the 30th around noon.
Do we want to just wait till a little later in June and take another look at the dates?
Yeah.
The third item that I had that I wanted to make the board aware of is we are annually the Corps of Engineers inspects the projects that are considered flood control projects. The one that we have that extends up into Woodbury County is the Bennett McDonald Smithland District. The board has done extensive work out there. This is something that's been going on for approaching 25 years now, since it was damaged during, I believe, the 1993 flood. We've once again received an unacceptable rating. We have a lot of company this year, though, because the entire Little Sioux Flood Protection District from the mouth of the Missouri north, according to our neighbor to the south, which happens to be I&S Group, is the engineer for that organization. After spending $22 million on riprap for bank protection, the Corps has declared the entirety of the Little Sioux Drainage District unacceptable in condition. I think at some point in time, I know that Supervisors Munson, Clausen, and Smith have all been out there. I think it would be worth if the two new supervisors could find a little time to go out and take a look at that. Chairman Munson and I, was it 2011? We were out there with Corps of Engineers staff and talked to them about alternatives with this drainage district. One of the big issues that we have is the upstream left bank from the 141 bridge is the river has eroded into what would be considered the cross-section of the actual levee. At that point in time, it means the toe of the levee is undermined by the river. This is what one of the critical findings is on that. The issue that the Corps has, where they won't provide any participation